What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports here on the Oklahoma channel at the voice of college football. In this video, we're going to give you a very early projected record for Oklahoma for the upcoming 2022 college football season. And keep in mind that this is not an official prediction. This is simply a projection based off of how tough the schedule is and based off of how good each team on the schedule is expected to be this upcoming season. Here are the projections from 2021, and you can see a 10-2 record for Oklahoma. Could have been worse than that, honestly. A lot of close games. It could have also been 12-0. I mean, they had chances to win the games that they lost, but it could have really gone either way. So 10-2, and that was the projection. So our projection was right on the money last year. Our projection had them at 10-2. Our prediction, though, I actually predicted this team to go 12-0. I didn't think they were going to lose a game. I thought they were going to win a playoff game as well. Obviously, that did not happen. I think a lot of hype from 2020, the way they finished the year, it wasn't just me. A lot of people were on the Oklahoma bandwagon, thought that this team could potentially make a serious run at a national championship. It just didn't happen. And again, they went 10-2. FBI projected this team to go 11.2 and 1.7. The over-under was also at 11. So our projection was actually more accurate than anything last year, more accurate than me in my personal prediction. So we'll see what the projection says here for 2022. Again, this is the schedule, and this is the scale that we'll be using. You've got your 50-50 games in white. Those are games where I think the spread's only going to be about 3 or 4 points or less. 20%, 80%, under 20%, over 80%. Those are the games where I think a team's going to be favored by 14-plus points. Almost not guaranteed wins, but would be very big surprises if a team lost a game like that. You've got your 20-29 and 71-80%. Those are games where I think the spread will be double digits, 10 to 14 points, somewhere in that range. 30-39%, 61-70%. That's where I think the spread's going to be about a touchdown, 6, 7, 8 points, kind of in that range. So for Oklahoma, you've got a couple of easy wins. Actually, I think 3 easy wins. You've got UTEP, Kent State, and Kansas. Kansas is a conference game. Kansas showed a little signs of life last year. I get that, but a game's at home. It's at Oklahoma. Yeah, it's closer to 80% than it is to 100%, but I do still think this is a green game. Same thing with UTEP and Kent State. So 3 wins that you can pretty much guarantee for Oklahoma. Then we go to the next category. A lot of games in the purple. A lot of games where I think Oklahoma is going to be favored by about a touchdown. We're talking about Kansas State, TCU on the road, at Iowa State, at West Virginia, at Texas Tech. Again, these are games where Oklahoma will be favored. I think they'll be a clear favorite, but not necessarily a huge favorite. And the way I'm kind of looking at the Big 12 is I'm looking at Baylor, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma kind of in that top tier. Texas is kind of in between them and the rest of the conference just because of the talent that they have. And then you've got these other teams like Kansas State, TCU, Iowa State, West Virginia, Texas Tech. All teams that, could be decent this year. They could be pretty bad. It's hard to really say for sure about most of these teams. I don't think any of them are really considered contenders in the Big 12, but then again, I don't think a lot of people expected Baylor and Oklahoma State to be there last year, so who knows what's going to happen. And with Oklahoma, it's hard to project what this team is going to be with all the new faces, new coaching staff. Is this going to be a top 10 team? Possibly. Is this going to be a team that's not even in the top 25 or barely in the top 25? That's possible as well. Just a lot of question marks around Oklahoma, so it's hard to know really where to project them. But again, I'm putting them kind of in that category with Baylor and Oklahoma State in the Big 12. So the rest of the schedule here, I think these are 50-50 games. I think Nebraska, Texas, Baylor, Oklahoma State, all 50-50 games. Texas is basically always a 50-50 game. Oklahoma, I think is going to be looked at as the better team coming into the season, but it's a rivalry game. It's always close, and Texas has talent, so I think that's a 50-50 game. Baylor and Oklahoma State, a couple of other 50-50 games. They are home games for Oklahoma, though, so that is really good news for them. If they can take care of business at home, win the games they're supposed to win, could be a really good year for Oklahoma. And then I've also got Nebraska up there as a 50-50 game. Nebraska was so close in so many games last year, including against Oklahoma. The game is on the road. I think there's enough there to where that is a 50-50 game, a game that could really go either way. So you've got 4 of those games. If they split those 4 games, go 2-2 in those 4 games, that would only be 2 losses. But the problem when we do this projection, at least if you're an Oklahoma fan, is you got to average all these games out. The green games are counted as wins, but then when you average out Kansas State, TCU, Iowa State, West Virginia, and Texas Tech, and you put those games at 65%, that would really tell you that Oklahoma is going to probably go 3-2 in those games. They're not a big enough favorite to where they're going to go 4-1 or 5-0. So the projection, when you average everything out, does come out to be 8-4. I think 8-4 is kind of the benchmark for Oklahoma. If you go better than 8-4 in Brent Venables' first year, I think that's a good season. I think 9-3 is a good year for Oklahoma this year with all the question marks. But at the same time, they can win really every game on their schedule. So if you look at it like that, maybe you're thinking, oh, this team needs to go 10-2 or 11-1. But if they're less than 8-4, if they're 7-5, I think that is a disappointing year for Oklahoma. But the projection, again, 8-4 when you average everything out. Our projection was 10-2 last year, right on the mark. We'll see if it comes out to be accurate this year at 8-4. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? What is your projection for Oklahoma coming up in 2022?